Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Big Nickel IDP Podcast. I am your host, Jon Macri, PFF's IDP specialist and data analyst. NFL draft month is essentially here, still a few days left in March, but for the purposes of this intro, you better believe we are ready to kick off the rookie content season on the feed right here and now. And we are starting with a very exciting edge class. We'll cover our top 10 players' strengths, weaknesses, favorite landing spots, and gets to ranking them at the end. I know I'm fired up, and I hope you are as well. So without further ado, let's get it. All right, here we go. So many rookie edges to talk about and so little time. And that's without even talking about some of the studs of the interior defensive line like Jalen Carter and Kalijah Cansey. But speaking of studs, joining me in the feed once again, as he has been gracious enough to do every year since this podcast's inception to talk edge prospects. I turned down Mel Kiper. I could have asked Daniel Jeremiah. Hell, even Mike Mayock was begging to come onto the pod to talk prospects, but they all pale in comparison to this man from footballguys.com. He is Joey the Tooth. Joey, what is happening, my friend?
Not much, man. I think Mayock soured himself after his Raiders deal, so I get that.
Yeah. He's blaming it all on Gruden and saying that Gruden was in charge of the first round picks, and he'll pop up on NFL Network in like 5-6 years or something as everyone forgets. But yeah, he wanted to come on, man, and I told him, I was like, I can't do it. You drafted Clelin Ferrell in the first round,
early too.
Super early, dude. And we want Joey, man. Joey's got the better eye for the edge prospect. So I appreciate you coming on here. It's a fun class for edge. I know last year it was okay, but this year seems a lot deeper. Even like defensive interior guys that we won't talk about today, but man, I've been watching a lot of it lately, and there's some fun players in this one.
What I like about the interior guys this year, there's a lot of explosive interior players. What's like, it's kind of, you're seeing like a new breed kind of come along.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you no longer need to be a 320-pound interior lineman. You can kind of hit that slightly leaner build, but they're stronger than anything. It's just Anyway, edge,
you're right. Like, and the name obviously that comes to mind is the Kalijah Cansey from Pitt. Man, he gets the Aaron Donald comps.
How does he move? How does a man move like that at that size?
It's wild. It's just so funny, like seeing him in Pitt as well. Like literally the same school as Aaron Donald, the same kind of size and build, and that same kind of quickness. So, I mean, there's going to be a ton of Aaron Donald comps for him, but he's pretty sick. But
LA should just do it. Say, you know what, we're going to lose Donald. Let's just take his replacement now.
Yeah, that would actually be very nice. I would love that. Oh man, but yeah, I've been dying to talk rookie prospects. I was much later to kind of start watching tape this year than I have been in the past, but I'm ready now, just in time for this next set of podcasts. We've listed 10 edges from this deep class, and there's definitely some names that we've left out but for the sake of time, guys like Anudike-Uzomah, Adebawore, whose name I can't say, Tui Pelotu. I mean, maybe we left them out because I can't say their names. I don't know. But guys like Andre Carter, Carl Brooks, Nick Herbig, there's a lot of guys that we won't talk about today. But it also leaves us some new names to cover post-draft if they do jump inside the top 10 edges or something like that as well. So like I said, it's a deep class, but enough of who isn't on the list. Let's get to the guys who are on this list, and starting it off in LSU with a player whose brother we covered a couple years back now. Joey, tell us about Aziz's little brother.
BJ Ojulari. He comes in around 6'3", 250, so good size for an edge. He's had SEC production for 3 seasons now. He's actually played as a freshman. He's just absolutely explosive. He's got quick footwork. His short area quickness is unbelievable. It's uncanny. And you can see it, like, he's got such a quick swim move just because his feet are so quick, and his short area, just side to side, and he's just so fast. Just go past. It's unbelievable. Like, you showed me a couple clips just recently right here that, like, just short, quick footwork. And it just, all it took was one stutter step and gone right there, right to the hole. It's unbelievable. His explosion, that's BJ Ojulari. And honestly, that's a lot of his brother too. You see very similar traits in the two. But I mean, he didn't really test, like some of the guys at the combine tested unbelievable. He didn't really test great. He didn't test bad, but he didn't raise his stock at all. But he didn't kill it by any means, because obviously he's got the explosion on tape. Like, you can't argue it. Even though he didn't blow your mind at the combine, you can't argue what you see in games. So Ojulari, SEC production, speed, size. The only thing I think that holds it back mostly is his length. He's kind of has short arms, and it's going to affect him in his run defense more or less, and a little bit in block shedding. But other than that, I really like BJ Ojulari as a prospect.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like you said, the main things that stand out when watching him, it is that quickness, right? When he's winning in run defense, for example, like we showed, it's a result of that quickness and that jump off the line. If he can get a good step against the offensive line, he ends up finding an angle that he's mostly able to make a play. Once he gets into space as well, I find is where he does his best work. Has good change of direction and speed in the open field, allows him to chase down running backs and quarterbacks from sideline to sideline. Negatives in run defense for me: often gets stonewalled trying to defend the run. That was one of the things. It's not really his game. Like, if he's taking on pulling offensive linemen or going on the defensive and trying to read while shedding a block, he does get washed out a little too often, especially if he isn't winning on that first step and the blocker does get a hold of him. He's basically done. And part of that's a size thing, an arm length thing, like you said. He's not the biggest guy, but could certainly try to add some strength and power to his game to pair that with that explosive first step. And yeah, again, just coming back to the quickness, his pass rush, we mentioned the quickness is a positive on his run defense, even more as a factor as a pass rusher. Hands and footwork are so fast off the snap that he's almost always the first one to break the pocket, because of his hand placement and burst as well. He doesn't do it often, but he can power through offensive tackles on the rush, which, despite his size, is a good sign that exists in his game. I'd also make an argument for him to have the best bend in this class. I mean, the next guy we talk about is there as well, but for me, Ojulari does it with the best balance and speed. Similar to his brother, right? Like you said,
right.
Azeez Ojulari. So we loved his bend coming out. Same kind of thing. It was a big thing we talked about with him a couple of years ago that we loved. And I think he does do a much better job fighting through contact as a pass rusher versus as a run defender. Obviously, he's in that attacking position, so that helps. But getting chipped by running backs or tight ends, he does a nice job working through that, which you don't really see with him as a run defender. And then negatives as a pass rusher, I do want to see him develop a little bit more power. I know he's not the biggest guy like we talked about, but there are instances where he can explode through those offensive tackles, but it is rare. It probably depends on the offensive tackle. In the NFL, that's probably going to be harder to do. So definitely. Yeah, go ahead.
One thing I thought of, like, watching Ojulari, it's almost like watching a counter-punching boxer. It's like he almost sets up and he knows it. His counters come naturally. It's not like he gets one move and he's just stuck with it. He can counter naturally, and that's where I see him win a lot of his pass rush.
Yeah, for sure. That was what I was going to say. I think he's definitely one of the more, like, refined pass rushers in this class, which was similar to his brother again in a lot of ways. The lack of size, you can't really do anything about that, and he will struggle in the run game, at least at first. But starting off as a pass rush specialist in the NFL isn't necessarily a bad thing for his development either. So, did you have any kind of favorite landing spots for Ojulari?
I wouldn't actually mind him in Atlanta, because they already have a couple of guys that are decent run defenders on the edge. I mean, they have Carter. He's probably best as a run defender. Arnold Ebiketie, he's kind of both ways. He's a decent pass rusher, pretty good run defender. They need that explosive pass rusher. They've lacked it for years now, and they've tried like anything to find a replacement to actually just add some juice to that pass rush, and they've had a tough time doing it.
Yeah, it's like a thicker group over there. So they, adding somebody like more of a speed rusher, I think makes sense. And yeah, for me, I put the Packers. I like them as kind of the Preston Smith incumbent alongside Rashawn Gary. I get that the Preston Smith contract goes until like 2052 or whatever it is, but he's already 31 years old, and Gary's coming back off the torn ACL. So there's an opportunity there, I think, for Ojulari to kind of rotate in as a relief for either guy as one gets back from injury and the other transitions into a very expensive nursing home. So that's where I was thinking of him, but I do like the Atlanta call as well. I think, man, they can use pretty much everybody in this class. That's for sure.
I know. Yeah, Atlanta's in a tough spot.
They're not great. Yeah. All right, let's go to next guy on the list, and that is Felix Anudike-Uzomah. Hopefully I said that right. We'll call him FAU for short. He went to Kansas State. For me, the positives, I'll start in run defense again. Really good jump off the line, so that helps him get on the offensive in what is typically a more of a, like a defensive situation. It puts him in a decent position to kind of control the line and make a play as well, potentially even two gapping at times. Just really kind of clean run defender when he can stay on his feet, which kind of brings him to my negatives, which is I think that jump that he has at the line can work against him at times. And you'll see it fairly often where O-lines use his own momentum against him and he ends up on the ground. Maybe it's a balance thing or a technique issue or a bit of both, but there's definitely some work needed there. He's also not very big, so that plays a part in it as well. As far as a pass rusher, I liked that he won in a variety of ways, whether it's power, speed, hands, swim move, bend. He kind of showcased it all last year at Kansas State. My favorite personally for him is his bend around the edge. Is a great combination of hands and speed, as anyone in this class when attacking the outside shoulder of those offensive tackles. As nice as that bend is, the only problem I have with it is that balance issue does show up again at times where he ends up on the ground quite a bit. I don't know if there's a player that ends up on the ground more than FAU here, especially defending the run. So doesn't necessarily have the strength and balance you'd like to see on early downs. Ultimately, though, I love these guys who can win kind of in a variety of ways because it shows that they have been working on and developing their craft, which is pretty clear with him. He's not an elite athlete, but he makes up for it with a very strong pass rush repertoire or toolbox and keeps an offensive lineman guessing, which helps his chances of translating to the NFL. So I ended up liking him a bit more than I think what the consensus appears to be on him.
Yeah, I think he's pretty intriguing prospect. You talked about his pop off the line. There was many times where I felt like it was inconsistent. There was a couple of times I saw he was it almost seemed like stuck in the mud off the line. I don't know. It was mostly in his pass rush, but there was a couple of times, mainly, I don't remember what game it was, but there was one game I watched. It was almost like 3 straight pass rushes. He was the last guy off the line. And I don't know if it was just a bad game for him or what, but it kind of opened my eyes to it. But he's got unbelievable length. He's got very long arms. His arms are long as heck. He's got a good pop in his hands. His bend is unbelievable, like you said. He's got strong leg drive and his bull rush. He gets his hands on it, and it just transfers power from his lower end up to his top end. He does have an incredibly high motor, but like you said, over pursuits a bit and takes himself out of the play. Bad balance, falls on the ground a lot. I do like him a lot, though. I think he's kind of an underrated prospect. This last year in Kansas State, he showed, like you said, he showed a lot. He showed that he has a large repertoire. He can do it on both ends, pass rush and in the run defense. And I think if he learns to use his length better, his wingspan, he's got a huge wingspan. If he can learn to use that better in run defense, I think he could be an even better prospect. So just a little bit of coaching could make him an actual 3-down player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And that inconsistency that you mentioned, it definitely exists in his game. And he's not, the dominant, we'll talk about him later, but like a Will Anderson who's winning on like a consistent basis. So
are you his father, by the way? I see a senior down here. Nice.
Senior. Yeah.
Good for you.
Very, very proud father.
Yeah.
Very proud. Yeah. But yeah, as far as like favorite fits go with with Felix here. I went with the Steelers. He'd play behind TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith, of course, but I think he's good enough to kind of provide them like the best depth option they've had there in the last couple of years and give those starters a little bit more respite so they don't have to play 800 to 900 snaps again this season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I like his toolbox. I think he has the ability to be an immediate contributor there, even as a part-time player. It's a very sack-friendly defense, and if they don't bring Highsmith back after this season, then he can kind of step in there and be a starter in year 2.
Yeah. I'd like to see him go to Houston, actually.
Ooh,
I feel like
nice.
Houston's, I mean, that's another team that just needs players everywhere, but grabbing him in one of the later rounds, probably like third, fourth, fifth round, allows them to attack the other positions earlier in the draft. So that I think that's something that could potentially happen, and I think he'd pretty much fit. I mean, they need pass rush bad.
They do.
They really have nobody.
Yeah. Jerry Hughes, I think, is still under contract there, but he's, I think, 64 this year, so he'll be he'll be on his way out at some point, maybe in the next 3 years or so. So
he still played well last year, surprisingly.
He did. He always kind of does. But yeah, I like the fit. Houston definitely needs the help. All right, let's go to our next guy from Notre Dame. Tell us about Isaiah Foskey.
Not somebody I was big on to start, but he kind of won me over a little bit the more I watched him. He's very athletic. He's got good agility, quick feet, big wingspan. He showed a good ability to counter. He really opened eyes up at the combine. He had a great combine. I think he had one of the faster 40 times of any of the defensive ends that went in. I think I like him more as a stand-up rusher, honestly, an outside linebacker. He's got some good length. He can set the edge well. And I'd love to see him stand up because he can get his long arms in there, get him in the chest of the tackles on the corner, and just really drive through. But I like Foskey. He's just not really my guy. He's got his lower body is a little weak, so he gets moved off his blocks easily. He's a little tight in his hips, so he doesn't really have the most bend. And even though he has that long wingspan and he can get his hands on you, he doesn't really have any hand fighting technique. Like, he lacks a punch, and even if he gets his hands on you, if his bull rush isn't working, like a good swipe can knock him off balance. And it was a little disappointing to see. His athleticism and his agility and his footwork are really great, but he just needs to clean up his technique in pretty much everything he does.
Yeah. Good call. Yeah, very, very similar to kind of what I have about him here. Just again, starting with the run defense. I thought he did set the edge well. Stands up offensive lineman, disengages at the right time, rarely ever giving up the edge. And it's mostly his timing in his hands. He uses his hands so well, and he knows when and how to use his opponent's momentum against them and kind of pull them to the ground. You see him do that a lot. He does it often, pulling offensive linemen in the dirt, more than probably any player in this class. And it's more than just like strength, I found, because he kind of has it down to a science. He really does it quite a bit. As far as the negatives go, as good as that ability is to throw offensive linemen to the ground, it's not necessarily because of his power. That's the one area that stands out, is that when he does rely more on strength and power, it's not quite there yet. There's also the occasional time when going up against some of the bigger, stronger offensive linemen that he'll be the one on the ground, basically. I like the body control as a pass rusher. I thought he does a nice job, kind of shifting his balance and strength to bounce from outside to inside or vice versa. Bends the edge okay and can turn the corner with speed. It's mostly his speed, like you said. He has a good jump at the snap, and he's not the bendiest edge rusher. He does a nice job kind of leaning into his rush, though, to get around offensive linemen with ease. So I like the get off. I like the speed and the athleticism. And more than anything, I like his technique in getting those offensive linemen to the ground as a way to win. That specifically kind of makes him unique in this class. While he isn't necessarily the most fluid pass rusher, he finds ways to win, which I think is a strong kind of development point, as he already knows how to utilize the tools that he has as well, and can keep kind of working on that. So any ideal fits for Mr. Foskey here?
I'd like to see him with the Rams, get the Aaron Donald effect. He seems to always find people who need help and just make them stars.
Yeah. He'll do that. He could turn anybody into a star. I think I would be able to get at least one sack playing on the defensive line.
Super interested to see what happens with Leonard Floyd this year.
Yeah. They were talking about. Did they release him, or they were talking about releasing him, or they were waiting until a certain day?
Yet.
Right. Yeah, they were waiting until, I don't know if they're going to make him a post June 1st cut or something like that, or try to trade him. But yeah, I mean, he's been solid there. So if they lose him, I don't know who they have. They may be the last place team next season. I don't know that there's enough there. I mean, between Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald, those are the stars, right? We don't know what Stafford is, but I mean, you get yourself a developmental player in there like Foskey. You're building for the future anyway, so I like it. For me, where did I go? I went the Bucks. So Tampa Bay. I know they just spent a first round pick on what's his face, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka a couple of years ago. He hasn't really shown much promise as a starter so far. So it's never a bad thing to try and take another swing at the position in the first 2 days of the draft. Especially you got Shaq Barrett coming off an injury, not getting any younger. Tryon-Shoyinka has obviously been pretty mid so far. So their depth isn't great at the position. So for me, Foskey I think he makes a lot of sense there as well. All right. Okay, next guy up is Keion White from Georgia Tech. So I'll start with the positives. I wasn't in love with Keion White here. I thought, as far as a run defender, he had good positioning. He plays his gap well, has a clear kind of understanding of the position, despite it being a fairly new position for him. He was a former tight end. So I think he's only spent the last 3 years playing defensive line. I think he's a little bit better playing on the interior gaps versus playing on the edge. He isn't great setting the edge or maintaining that kind of outside leverage. His game is very much attack the inside shoulder and dive headfirst into the gap right now. As far as pass rusher, I like that he's had success from a variety of alignments across the defensive line. I think that shows good versatility. His game doesn't really drop off when he changes those alignments. He's got a willingness to try different moves. They don't always work or look great, but he's at least trying to win in more than one way. Gave a spin move a go, swim as well. He's practicing that for sure. But yeah, it's ultimately the negatives that kind of hurt him for me. I mean, he plays a little bit out of control. Even when he's winning, it's clear there's like a lot of work to kind of be done with him as a pass rusher. I think he's far from polished, just doesn't have many refined tools at the moment, but there are tools present, like, size, speed, power to make it work. And I think he has great size to play defensive end in the NFL. I probably prefer him a bit more inside. So maybe that 3-4 defensive end. He has more success kind of lining up over the tackles, attacking their inside shoulder or playing the B gap in the run game versus trying to set the edge and maintain outside leverage. So I didn't come away loving his tape. Very much feels like a work in progress to me, but I think the NFL may view him as this big and toolsy enough player to take a shot on him maybe late day 2 or something like that. I haven't paid too much attention to where he's being mocked right now.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of talk about Keion White, like people loving Keion White, but I came same as you. I mean, he's an explosive athlete and he's got a high motor and everything, but you can tell in his game that he hasn't been in this position for a long time. I think he went from tight end to edge rusher to interior defender, and it was like that's kind of a tough transition to make. I think his first year on defense, he was like 265 pounds, and then he bulked up to 285 to play the interior. And it's like, I almost feel like he'd be best off shedding back down to that like 265, 270 range where he can even pack more explosion, because I don't think he's going to lose any of his strength or anything. But I think that he doesn't have enough upper body strength to play the interior. He has a tough time shedding blocks. He's got a below average punch. He doesn't really have any, like when in run defense, he doesn't seem that he can. Maybe it's an IQ thing. I'm trying to think of the right word to say, but he can't decipher the play well. He doesn't know where it's going to go. He doesn't know what gap to fill. Yeah. His short area quickness, his speed, everything of that is great, but he lacks almost all polish, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I do like his versatility. I mean, at 285, he can play interior in some instances. And like we were talking just recently at the beginning of the pod, interior defenders now starting to slim down slightly. We like being 280, 290 on the interior no longer is seen as like he's too thin to play.
Right.
So maybe that's best for him because he is, like you said, he's better as an interior rusher. But I'm thinking that's really should be the way he goes, to stay interior or shed slightly and focus purely on the edge.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes sense, and that's kind of what I was picturing him like for the NFL. I put like the Patriots as a landing spot for him, just to send him to Bill, let him and his coaching staff work
Figure
with
him out.
him. Yeah, and see if they could turn him into anything. They got like a Dedrick Wise over there, and they've had success with him, and I think there are some similarities to their game. So it could be a nice match. They don't have to have. I don't have much faith in him, for IDP, especially as a rookie. But we'll see if he could develop despite being, I think he's an older prospect. He's like 24 or something now. So, yeah.
Yeah, I went with Seattle because, I mean, they just had Quentin Jefferson come up with about 30 tackles and 5.5 sacks. So Quentin Jefferson's no world beater. So
right. Yeah. No, that
plus
makes
they don't have they don't have edge rushers either outside of Darrell Taylor. So stick him where you need him.
Yeah, they love a good rotation there, and I think he makes sense as a rotational player. So, yeah, I like that fit. Who do we got next? Oh, Lukas Van Ness from Iowa. What do you like about him?
Even though he never started a game, which still kind of blows my mind. I learned that this year. I mean, I watched his tape and I didn't even know that. And then I learned after the fact. I was like, seriously? It's just strange to me. But I mean, he's got violent, strong hands. Routinely, you can just see him throw. He sheds blocks. He can throw offensive linemen. He's got quick snap timing, flexible bend, all the way from hips all the way to his ankles. So I think he coming off the edge, he plays with great leverage, good snap timing. He's sets a great edge and run defense, and I think it has a lot to do with his strength. Like again, going back to his strong hands, like he can just stand up an offensive lineman. He's got a very, very tight spin move. I love the spin move. Though he does have a tight spin move, he does rely too heavily on it. It seems like that's his go-to almost every single time when he's trying to counter, or actually just even his initial pass rush move. It's almost always a spin move. He has quick feet, but he has somewhat limited lateral agility. I don't think it's going to be an issue with him, but it's just something that I noticed. And he just needs to work on his pass rush counters. I mean, he's, like I said, he relies too heavily on the same move, but I really like what he has to say. I like his strength. I like his flexibility. I like his timing. His understanding of a defense and his ability to set an edge. So I think I really like Lukas Van Ness.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, like you said, the strength to me is the main thing that kind of stands out. It's this truly impressive strength at the line of scrimmage. In run defense, he can eat up double team blocks, stand up offensive linemen at the point of attack. It allows him to kind of set the edge and two gap or play inside outside when lined up on the edge. He gets it. He doesn't make many mistakes defending the run. He plays sound, rarely gets caught out of position. About as consistently strong of a defender against the run as there is in this edge class for me, and not just an edge, which was kind of cool about him. He will line up on the inside and attack the A and B gaps thanks to his power and strength in that run game. As far as negatives of the run defense, there wasn't a lot for me to focus on, but has a hard time getting off some double teams, which is honestly, it's just difficult to blame him. A lot of defensive linemen do when you got two offensive linemen getting a hold of you. So that was pretty much it for run defense. As a pass rusher, I liked his versatility along the line. Can play that 3-4 defensive end spot or line up in the wide 9 and still be effective. Feels more like a 3-4 defensive end to me if we want to assign like a scheme fit. Not that stuff really matters all that much, but that's kind of what he strikes me as. But ultimately, it's his ability to win with power. It's up there as one of the best in this class, along with someone else we'll talk about in a bit. But that bull rush, I think, is elite. That's his go-to move. Success. He has success running a stunt as well, which is nice to see from a bigger guy, and something Trayvon Walker could take notes on. And he's just good on his feet, and he has a great feel with how to flow to a new gap on those stunts. So negatives as a pass rusher, basically, how does he win? It's power, 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 and he's very good at it, but there needs to be more. Like you said, that counter move, there needs to be something. You can't be that one-dimensional in the NFL, because offensive linemen will identify that and adjust very quickly. So I'll be curious to see how quickly he develops more of a pass rush repertoire once he's in the NFL. But yeah, I mean, my personal favorite run defender from this class, as far as the edge prospects go, that gives me a lot of confidence that once he develops into a better pass rusher, and he's still a good one, he can be like a 3-down edge at the NFL, and it just might take some time as he develops. I do love that pre-snap leg wiggle that he does as well. It just makes him easy to find watching film. So shout out to him for that. I'm a big fan of the leg wiggle.
I think it's for us.
Yeah, exactly. He's just kind of pointing out where he is on the line, because it's hard. The
all
black
of you that don't have
jerseys,
all 22, just watch for the wiggle.
Yeah, just look for the wiggle. You'll find him pretty easily. Did you have a favorite fit for Van Ness?
I'd like to see him in Tennessee.
Okay.
I mean, Bud Dupree's gone. Harold Landry's coming back. They have Rashad Weaver look pretty decent this year, but I don't think he's a long-term fit. Right. So, like you said, he can move inside, outside. He can play a little 3-4 DN if they want, or he can move outside.
Yep. Yeah, I think I have somebody else in Tennessee, so we're around the same thoughts there. I put him in with the Chargers, so just finding a defensive lineman that could play inside and outside, I think, is a key for them, for their defensive line, which really kind of lacks a player like that at the moment. So being a top-tier run defender in this class also fills a significant need for them, and learning from an elite pass rusher like Joey Bosa could be huge to help him develop for multiple years. So that's nice. All right, cool. All right, let's go to Myles Murphy from Clemson. So Myles Murphy, let's start with I'll start talking about him as a pass rusher first. So explosive get off, great first step, and he could power through offensive tackles thanks to that explosiveness and strength. Absolutely rocks offensive linemen if he executes it right. Has a crazy good strong arm move that catches offensive tackles off balance and allows them to power through the block. Good rip move as well, shows it off quite a bit to win on the outside, and relentless second effort, refuses to lose, and if the rush and not let the rush die down if that first move doesn't work. So leans into that size, strength, and athleticism to help him wear down offensive linemen and finish the play. As far as negatives for me, I do want to see him win with his hands more. I think because it is there, he's done it. He just doesn't do it a lot. I think he'll need to utilize his hands more in the NFL to be a bit more consistent. But yeah, as a run defender, he's powerful off the snap. He uses his size and strength to move blockers out of the way and make plays off the ball, explodes through blocks, has a great first step, and that he transfers to power so well. Leaving him unblocked is a mistake as well, because he's ready to kill someone from the moment the ball is snapped, and he's blown up runners when given a head of steam. He can sort through traffic flying towards them, doesn't lose track of the play. Multiple times has just tossed offensive linemen aside like they're rag dolls. For me, his best hands work comes as a run defender. He sets the edge, not just with power, but knows how to knock the hands of blockers and take advantage of them to get into proper position. Just doesn't use it as much as a pass rusher. But I do think he takes great angles, understands how to use his momentum against blockers, and project himself into the right spot to make a play. So I ended up coming away really liking Myles Murphy. I think that first step that he has is huge. He wins a ton thanks to that explosiveness off the line, but that's not all he is. He shows off power. I mentioned the relentless effort. He isn't just winning on relentless effort if he isn't winning on that first move. So size and power should allow him to translate into more than just a pass rusher in the NFL, and he's shown an ability to be a good run defender. So athleticism is exciting, and if he could develop more of a pass rush repertoire, he could be one of the best edge defenders in this class when it's all said and done, in my opinion.
Yep. Yeah, I 100% agree, actually. He's got an NFL-ready frame, and he's matched it with elite-level speed and athleticism for the position. Motor runs red hot, never quits in his pass rush, and he shows good primary and secondary counters instinctively, too. It's not sloppy.
Mm-hmm.
His game's expanded every season. This season, he even dropped into coverage a bit, which that's pretty big for a man of his size.
Mm-hmm.
But he's powerful, both quick outside and inside, and he's got a very good inside spin move. Quickly creates space and gets his burst, often collapses the pocket in a flash. The big thing I could see him to work on is maybe play with a little better leverage. He plays with a little high pad level sometimes, but easily coached for a man of his size. Like, I really like Myles Murphy. If it wasn't for Will Anderson, he'd probably be my number one edge in this class. But yeah, I really like him a lot.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. And yeah, it's funny because now my favorite fit for him is the Tennessee Titans. This is the guy that I put over there. So he just kind of strikes me as a Titans player. He's like an amalgam of their starting defensive line, in my opinion. So he's like they got their current projected starters on the edge are Harold Landry and Arden Key. So these lankier pass rushers, and then they've utilized like Anudike-Uzomah there as well, but who plays quite a bit interior, but alongside Jeffrey Simmons. So that's the way I see Myles Murphy as a combination of all those guys, and would be able to work his way into a starting role there, that they could rely heavily on him to play significant snaps, probably year one as well. So how about you? Where did you have Myles going?
Arizona. I would like to see him in Arizona. I mean, they just lost Zach Allen, and they don't really have. They have a bunch of like prospects coming in. Like was Myles Sanders and who else did they draft last year?
Cameron Thomas.
Yeah, so Sanders flashed a little bit in spurts, but they don't really have a primary pass rusher in Arizona. So, I mean, he could actually go in and be the primary pass rusher from the start if he shows better than those two rookie season. So,
yeah, I think he's a better prospect than the two of them as well. So that would make sense. He could be new JJ Watt over there, which
and he still had a great year.
He did, man.
Like, JJ, just
he's
don't hang it up yet, man. But good for him.
Oh yeah, he's awesome. All right, we got another Georgia guy, or I guess this is our first Georgia guy. I'm thinking about Jalen Carter again. Tell me about Nolan Smith.
A bit undersized, but he is explosive. He came in, what was it, like 235, 240 pounds, somewhere right around in there. But you would not be able to tell it by his strength. He's an incredibly strong man for his size. He's a great run defender. He gets downhill lightning fast. He packs immense power in a smaller frame, quick twitch, lateral agility. And again, for a man his size, he's got a very strong anchor for holding his rushing lanes. It's actually quite impressive to see a guy that size go up against tackles and interior linemen. It's pretty good. He's got a bendy waist, gets low off the edge. He needs to develop better use of his hands in block shedding. And the thing that worries me slightly, I mean, he has limited production as a pass rusher in his entire college career. I mean, all the tools are there, but the production's never been there. So it worries me a little bit. His combine really boosted his draft stock, but
yeah,
it's there. A lot of it's there. It's never been complete.
Right. Yeah, I'm just like now noticing how ridiculous his mock draftable like web chart is here.
Yeah.
It's crazy. If anybody hasn't seen it, go to mockdraftable.com and look at Nolan Smith's
like size, nothing, athleticism, everything.
It's it's pretty impressive, to be honest. But yeah, I'm with you. I mean, as far as like as a run defender goes, he was productive as a run defender. He was solid there, and I think it's his quickness at the line of scrimmage is kind of how he wins. There's so much speed and kind of quickness to his game. He utilizes it well, even chasing down runners to the sideline. But that bendiness is what helps him win. He has the bend and dip that he busted out defending the run a few times that looks so smooth and works so well when he goes to it. I guess my issue as far as a negative in run defenses go is I'm concerned about the size being an issue in the NFL. I'm worried that kind of lanky frame of his is going to get punished in the next level or at the next level. You see it some in college, but it absolutely will be more evident in the NFL. So unless he can kind of bulk up and get stronger, I have a hard time picturing him as an every down player, even with some strong run defense metrics at Georgia. As a pass rusher, I liked his hands better as a pass rusher than I did as a run defender. Quick hands, uses his hands and quickness well in unison with one another, and tends to win inside or outside. Certainly a key for a player his size. If he's going to win consistently, he needs to be able to show decent hands, kind of slippery between the line as well, kind of coming back to that quickness. I think it's his greatest asset, so that slender frame can slip between the offensive linemen before they get a hold of him with a speedy dip move. The bend is a part of his game. You just kind of have to go back to 2021 to see him utilize it a bit more. It's just not totally his fault to see he had a season cut short with the torn pec last year, but it's there, and he's not as bendy as like past Georgia edges like Azeez Ojulari, for example, but he's definitely capable of it. And my negatives for him as a pass rusher, he's not really winning with power, unlike some of the other edge players in this class who pretty much only win with power. There's some power to his game, but it's not as consistent. And I think obviously, again, coming back to the size and the strength as well. But that's where it stands out to me as far as, facing NFL offensive linemen. I do worry a little bit about that strength and power.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Any favorite fits for Nolan Smith?
I'd like to see him in Pittsburgh. It's kind of for the same reasons you
So
said before.
Yeah.
I mean, he can replace possibly Highsmith if they don't retain him. He can give them a break.
Yeah, for sure. I think I put Carolina. Brian Burns, for me, he needs help. He's all alone over there. There isn't like a true consistent pass rush threat on the team outside of Burns. And I think adding someone like Smith who can bend the edge and chase quarterbacks out of the pocket is something that they're in pretty desperate need of at this point. They have a couple day 2 picks still, I believe. So, why not? Once they address that quarterback position first overall, let's give Brian Burns a little bit help on the opposite edge. Yeah. All right, let's go to Texas Tech, Tyree Wilson. So Tyree Wilson, kind of ridiculous upper body strength. He definitely overpowers blockers by attacking their chest and bending them out of the way. He stands them up, sheds, and puts himself in a position to make a play on the ball carrier. You love to see that kind of power. Not to say that he isn't strong on his feet either, especially in the run game. He just seems to kind of thrive with contact. And I was talking to Dwight Peoples, I think last week, I think it was, about Tyree Wilson. So, and I had a comp for him. I think you'll appreciate this, but for me, especially in the run game, he just kind of seems to thrive with contact. He's like I wrote the personification of the Black Panther suit that absorbs like the kinetic energy and then uses it against his opponents by bouncing it right back at them. He clearly loves the physicality of the game, and he kind of seeks it out. So, that was the first thing that came to mind with me watching Tyree Wilson. Yeah, I think that makes sense a lot for his game. And yeah, the only thing is, if he's not winning with the power, I think more often than not he's probably not winning. He flashed a little bit of finesse or ability to win with his hands, but for the most part, power is where, for the most part, he's using his power to try to switch it up, and he ends up either out of position or offensive linemen are using his momentum against him to wash him out of the play. And again, it's power in the pass rush game as well, where his bull rush is crazy good. He shows multiple ways to win, but he's not like truly polished at any of them outside of that bull rush, which, doesn't really require polish. You just need power to be able to slam an offensive lineman back, to simplify it, but may not necessarily have a plan of attack outside of just win by any means necessary, which is usually that power. But he will fight until that ball is out, which is good to see. So negatives, there are a few. Basically no bend to his game, like, at all. When he does try to win outside, he overshoots the quarterback because he can't take the corner sharp enough, I should say. Not really an explosive first step, often the last off the line. I've noticed it's pretty noticeable when lined up with his hand in the dirt or in a 2-point stance. It doesn't really matter. He is kind of slower off the line than the rest of his teammates. Lacks a pass rush plan as well. It's pretty clear that he just wants to attack and try to win with power, which I do think is coachable. So while it's a concern now, it could be changed in the right system in the NFL. So, last year, it's interesting. Last year, I don't think there were any kind of great bull rushers from the edge class. And
right.
I love a good bull rush. So I'm glad that we got at least a few of them here with Van Ness and now Wilson. So ultimately, like, far from a polished pass rusher, but he has the size and power in his game that he can develop into an effective 3-down player in the NFL. It just might take some time because he won't be able to rely on that power as much as a rookie going against NFL offensive linemen.
Right. It was his power that was most of his upper body. It's unbelievable, his strength. Strong hands. He can shed blocks, move linemen, keep them on their heels, force them to react. He plays with a fire red hot motor. He's incredibly impressive tackler. He very rarely misses the tackle, and I think it has a lot to do with his big wingspan and upper body strength. He's a guy who can actually arm tackle you. You don't really see that too often. A lot of people try arm tackles, never works. He could actually do it. The only problem is, watching him play, he lacks explosion, really. I mean, he has the bull rush, but it's all power. He's not an explosive athlete by any means. Like, he's not quick off the edge. He's not bendy by any means. He's just incredibly strong.
Yeah.
And he's very tight in his hips. Don't ever send him out in coverage. He will just he's just not a man that can drop. It just won't happen. But I think, like you said, he could develop into a 3-down player. I think he could still play 3-down just because of his run defense. And I don't know. I'm still on the fence about Wilson. He's kind of a tough one to project.
Yeah. No, I'm 100% with you. That's the thing. Like, when it comes to kind of projecting these guys to the NFL, for him specifically, I wanted to see him kind of go somewhere where he can sit and learn behind some of the better and more experienced edge rushers in the league. So I went with the Raiders. I think learning from players with a similar skill set like Max Crosby, Chandler Jones, I think is important for his development. I'm not a believer in throwing him out there with the best opportunity right away, because I just have a hard time seeing him being successful as a rookie. So at least playing behind the likes of Crosby and Jones will give him some experience and similar builds and skill sets to learn from.
That was my exact same landing spot.
Yes.
Actually.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
We got one. We matched up.
Same thing. I was like, sweet.
All right. Love to see it. It happens once a year. It's not always on the same podcast, but we
got it.
We got it. All right. Let's go to everybody's favorite from this class. My son, Will Anderson Jr. at Alabama. Tell me about Mr. Anderson.
He's just unbelievable. I really look at him as pretty much like a can't miss prospect. He's an explosive athlete. He's got elite snap timing and tremendous burst, quick first step. He's got a plethora of pass rush moves, his spin move being his most impressive, I feel. He's got a strong club and rip with powerful acceleration, helps him in pursuit on the back end of plays. He's got a fluid body that allows him actually to cover plenty of ground and out in coverage, honestly. He thrives in his pass rush and run defense, and shows enough in coverage that he could actually be a off-ball linebacker. Honestly, it was what was it? It was 2001 or 2021. He had 101 tackles and 31 for a loss and 19 sacks. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's unreal.
It's like, come on, man, really? But he almost has scheme versatility. You can play him in off ball if you need to. He's just he reminds me, honestly, a lot of Micah Parsons. You don't want to make that Micah Parsons comparison, but he's a guy who can play off ball linebacker that is obviously at best as an edge rusher.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good call. I mean, if any player over the last 2 seasons since Micah Parsons has come out deserves that comp, it's probably Will Anderson, man. I wrote down maybe too much about him, because I just like the more I watched, like I just kept finding things. I was like, damn, this guy's so good. So I'll start kind of in run defense. I'll try to go through it fairly quickly here, but he plays his gaps aggressively, and he can two gap when needed. So he's fast and powerful enough to handle offensive linemen at the point of attack and still make plays around the line of scrimmage. Really refuses to kind of be washed out at the line of scrimmage, whether it's offensive linemen, double teams, or teams making the painful mistake of lining up a tight end to block him. He's too explosive and too strong to contain. You even get like a pulling offensive lineman with a head of steam, and it's like running into a brick wall when he's the target. It's really impressive. You see his strength and his power in a number of different aspects of his game. His outside to inside move is so quick. Offensive tackles really don't stand a chance when he gets that proper explosion off the line. Can wall off tackles with one hand while he catches the running back with his other hand. Like similar how you mentioned Tyree Wilson, those one arm tackles while fighting off an offensive lineman. Will Anderson would be the other guy in this class that I think does that very well. He plays the RPO very well as also, which I noticed. So when he's left as kind of that read defender, he just has a tendency to sniff out the handoff and erase the running back with ruthless aggression, or trap the quarterback on the option and leave him nowhere
Ruthless
to run.
Aggression.
Which is ruthless aggression. Yeah, that was like, I think that's a Vince McMahon line.
Love it.
Yeah. And then as far as like negatives in run defense, there's not much. The only thing was like he does have trouble wrapping up tackles a little bit. He has a 19.3% career missed tackle rate, which was up to 27.5% in 2022 with 14 misses. So a career high last year. So outside of that, you go to him as a pass rusher, and I mean, honestly, just disgusting quickness at the snap. I almost felt bad for some offensive tackles that he absolutely puts on skates with his quickness. That jump that he can make going outside to inside shoulder. Yeah, it's a thing of beauty. And he'll set it up early in the game, but can put the brakes on in mid-step and cut right back outside. And there's literally nothing the tackle could do to stop him. Just watch
play. He's slow to get up after. He's like,
yeah.
So disappointing.
Yeah, man, he's so sick. But you watch him and you could kind of picture like how his attack feels, if that makes sense. He's light on his feet, but clearly has power as well. So he doesn't really get caught off balance and can continue to attack seamlessly through blockers. The power is there, and he has the bull rush, and he's utilized it to go along with the quickness. The only thing for me really is he relies a ton on that inside move. Doesn't necessarily have the bend that you like to see from an edge, and when he does win outside, it's typically like speed and power, some handwork as well, but not very bendy in my opinion, which is fine since he has literally everything else. Yeah, so just as NFL ready a prospect as there is, I think, in this entire class. Polish and freaky athleticism. He proved that he could be dominant consistently, has a larger sample size of work than pretty much every defensive lineman in this class. So there's more than enough tape out there to rule out any concerns and be confident what we're getting from a potential top 5 pick. Yeah. Any favorite landing spots for him?
I'd like him to land in Chicago.
Oh, wow.
They need it bad.
Yeah, they do. That would be huge for them, man. They have literally nobody there.
I mean, it's potentially, I mean, if he drops a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing, right? Are they 6th? Yeah, I should know. I just literally did a mock draft today. I think Detroit's 6th. Anyway, somebody will yell it.
They're right around there.
Through there. They're right there. And honestly, yeah, Chicago makes sense. I just put whoever takes the first non-quarterback. So it feels like it might be Arizona too, right? You mentioned Arizona earlier. If it is the Cardinals, Jonathan Gannon, he gets a big boost to the defensive line, which is barren at this moment, like you said. So going to be a big difference for Jonathan Gannon going from the Eagles defensive line to that group in Arizona. So I think
we'll see if he's actually a good coordinator.
Yeah, exactly. So I think he'll want to get a big piece there right away. And Anderson, I think, makes a ton of sense if they stay put at 3. It'd be so hard to pass on him. But I mean, Jalen Carter's there as well, but we'll see what they do.
Right.
All right. This is our last guy. Another Will. This is Will McDonald from Iowa State. Where's this thing? There it is. All right. So Will McDonald, as a run defender, I think he plays gap sound, stiffs out runs as well as any other edge in this class. I do think he's solid as a run defender. When he's able to win at the line, he puts himself in a good position to make a play while also kind of lining up all over the defensive line, despite his size. However, that size and strength does create some mismatch issues when he has to go on the defensive as a run defender. Just moved off his spot way more than you'd like, and he gets washed out in the run game, unfortunately. So there are these kind of big concerns for him, unfortunately. As much as he is a good and sound run defender, getting washed out so often against college offensive linemen doesn't really bode well for his ability to avoid that same issue against NFL offensive linemen. As a pass rusher, for me, it is finesse. That was a positive, I thought, for McDonald here. He has some bend to his game, which a lot of the guys we've covered do not. He busted out a decent spin move from time to time as well, and that's kind of the key to his wins because he isn't winning with power. And basically, that's kind of what my gripes are with him as a pass rusher. Is that there isn't any power to his game. There. Mm-hmm. Really, and he's very thin. Also, like 5 years at Iowa State didn't really show significant improvement, so that's kind of a red flag for me. He lacks polish as well, doesn't have the smoothness to his game or his pass rush repertoire, which again, kind of concerning being such an experienced player. But yeah, it's funny because the first few plays I watched of him were these really good run defense plays, and I was like, oh wow, he does a nice job, not letting his size be a liability. And then that very quickly disappeared because
very next play, you're like, oh, there it is.
Yeah, because there were just way too many examples of him getting bullied in the run game. He feels like a pass rush specialist to me. If he can add some bulk and strength to his game, maybe he has a shot to be a little bit more valuable as an IDP with some early down work. But considering he didn't get significantly bigger in 5 years at Iowa State, I am a bit concerned about McDonald.
Yeah, it makes you worry that if he does pack on any weight, it'll kill some of that athleticism.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I do like him a bit. I know you don't like his hand usage, but I do like he's got a nice swipe move. I mean, that's the only thing I can see him doing his run defense. He does. I said he uses his hands like Mr. Miyagi swiping defenders off his chest. But I did like the way he uses his hands to shed blocks. But if anybody's got a nice good grip on him, he doesn't have the strength. He's got a red hot motor. He does good pursuit from the backside and run defense and in his pass rush. He's got quick feet, devastating spin move matched with explosion to finish. His run defense is a work in progress. He doesn't show much understanding of holding lanes or setting an edge. He also lacks flexibility in his hips and dip off the edge, so which is very, very concerning for a man of his size. You would figure somebody of his size has more flexibility than most of the others in the class, but he has been pretty productive as a pass rusher in his career. I mean, 40.5 tackles for a loss. Granted, it was at 5 seasons, but still. I do like him, but he, like you said, he's just going to be a pure pass rusher. He's going to be a pass rushing specialist. I don't think he's going to be anybody that's going to be a 3-down linebacker, and that's not what you're looking for when it comes to IDP.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we're in the same boat here, and it's good because it's good that you like him because I'm giving him to the 49ers, your team here, because to me I'd like the fit because he could be kind of their new like Arden Key or Samson Ebukam, those pass rush specialist type guys, while Drake Jackson can maybe develop into a bigger workload for them this year after spending a second round pick on him last year. But that's kind of what he reminds me of, is that Arden Key, Samson Ebukam. So I like the Bay Area for McDonald.
I would totally like that. I would dig that a lot, honestly. They need the depth.
Yeah.
I went with Carolina actually for many of the same reasons, because they don't have anybody. So you just add somebody who can at least just apply pressure opposite of Brian Burns. He needs some help. He just needs somebody a speed rusher off the edge. Give him some help. Just give him some help.
Yeah. Eater Gross Matos is not the answer.
No, I was hoping that Amari Barno, he was my deep sleeper. I was hoping he was going to use some of that athleticism from the freaking combine and whatnot to actually do something, but he never really showed.
Hey, it was just one year, right? There's
right,
absolutely there's time. There's time.
this.
Whereas I think Gross Matos' time is run out. So yeah. Well, that was our 10. Do you want to rank these guys?
Let's do it.
Okay. Let's go. Let's start with number 1, since I guess
it's your son.
Yeah, Mr. Will Anderson Jr. Yeah. He's our number 1. I mean, we went over why. He just does everything well. He's the NFL ready prospect in this group. But who do you have at number 2?
Myles Murphy.
Nice. Yeah,
I'm a big Myles Murphy fan.
Same. Yeah, I love him. I honestly, I didn't know what to expect. I worry about some of these Clemson edge guys sometimes, but man, I really came away liking Myles Murphy. And like you said, if there wasn't Will Anderson in this class, he'd be my top guy, just because I think he does everything well.
Yeah.
Also, so yeah, I went Myles Murphy there too. Number 3, who do you got?
I went with Lukas Van Ness.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is where we start to differ. Yeah, because I put Tyree Wilson, so I went with the other power guy. I don't know how much he'll, how long he'll take to develop in the NFL. That we talked about the pass rush stuff. They need some work. Same thing with Van Ness, I guess. But I think you're right. I think both. You know what? I might be too low on Van Ness after looking at it a little bit, because I have him as number 7. But we'll get to that.
My big thing of Van Ness over Tyree Wilson is he just seems more athletic. Honestly, he seems more explosive.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, that's a good call. All right. Well, who did you put it for?
Ojulari, BJ Ojulari.
Nice. Okay, so it's close there. Yeah, I put Felix, Anudike-Uzomah. I ended up really liking him quite a bit. I thought
got a lot of nice tools.
Yeah, that was kind of the thing that stood out for me, and I did like what he showed on tape, and yeah, he's right there for me. And I put BJ Ojulari at 5. So it was really close between those two. But
yeah, I have Tyree Wilson's my 5.
Yeah.
Nice. It's literally like anywhere like 3, 4, 5, and 6 could really interchange for me.
Yeah, I think that's the range. For me, it's like 3 to 7. I think 8, 9, and 10 I feel comfortable with, but 3 to 7, I'm probably going to move again as I keep working through it.
Definitely.
Here.
Easily.
Yeah. So what was that? Number 5. So who do you got at 6?
Felix.
Okay.
Felix AU. Was it Anudike-Uzomah?
Anudike-Uzomah, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I did end up liking him a lot too.
Nice. All right. Yeah, I put Isaiah Foskey
nice.
At 6 out of Notre Dame. I did like him a little bit as well. And like I said, I have Lukas Van Ness at 7, but I don't know. I guess I'm not projecting the athleticism as much, but I probably should. I liked his power a lot, and I liked him as a run defender, but I wasn't crazy about him as a pass rusher. So there's definitely work to be done, and I guess I think that'll develop a little bit more. So I could probably project him to develop better than maybe some of these other guys here. Yeah, but who'd you have at 7?
Isaiah Foskey. He just needs to hit the weight room on that lower end.
Yeah.
Leg day. Don't skip leg day.
That's right. Yeah, never skip leg day. Number 8. Who do you got at 8?
Nolan Smith.
Yes, same here.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's still a lot of work to be done, right? And that smaller frame is it could be an issue in the NFL, but he looks good as a pass rusher. We'll just see how he looks as a rookie.
See if he can hold up.
Yeah. We might have the same back 3 here. Let's see. So you went Nolan Smith at 8. So did I. And number 9, I have Will McDonald.
Yep. Same here.
Okay. All right. Iowa State. Yeah, we literally just talked about him, so we don't need to get into it again. And then 10, obviously that leaves our guy Keion White, unfortunately. I just think there's too much still to work on for White. So not to say like that these guys can't develop, and get better, because obviously most of them will, right? And in the right scheme and stuff like that. Like I said, New England for him, there's room to grow, obviously, but as of right now, he's my number 10.
Yeah, no, same. It's like you said, he's just not enough time as a defensive player. I mean, tight end to edge to interior. It's like, that's tough. That's very difficult. And then go to the draft.
Yeah.
You're literally getting drafted off of your athleticism. I mean, you can't even argue that yourself.
I know.
Like, I know I am. I can move quick, man.
Yeah. I'll be really curious to see how the NFL values him, but they love their athletic guys, right?
Yeah.
Those athletic development projects. So he'll probably go day 2 at some point, right?
Yeah, I would think so. And there's been people talking to him late first round, second round. I was like, I can't. Wow. I just can't get behind that, dude. And it's probably just a bunch of just people just spewing. I hate draft time sometimes. I do.
There's a new mock draft every day, Joey. That they got to change it up somehow.
It's true. It's so true.
That's literally what
I used to do a mock draft. There was one year I did a 7-round mock for every single team. And then everybody just started doing it. I was just like, I just don't want to do this anymore.
Too many takes out there.
I'll just do my prospect profiling. That's it. Kind of keeps myself about it a little.
I know. Yeah. That's when you get everybody's a draft expert, right? And, as much as we're spending our time talking about these prospects, we're not, experts, so to say. We just,
we're not saying we're going to be right. And the worst part about doing those mocks is like, as soon as you put one out, somebody has to tell you why you're wrong. It's like,
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. This is like anything, rankings, anything like that. It's the same. It's the same result.
Which I was pretty happy. I just showed a quick clip of my top 10 linebacker projections, and I didn't get met with really any heat questions, but there was nobody telling me I was stupid. I was like, that's a win.
That's good. That's good. That is 100% a win whenever you share rankings.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's Twitter, man. That's what it is. But yeah. Anyways, but we got through it here. Pretty good time. Just a little over an hour to cover our 10 prospects. So nice, tight time frame, and I think a lot of information in that time. Man, I don't know about you. I'm ready to roll into like a whole other podcast talking about the defensive interior guys now. Got me fired up.
I know. I know. I wasn't even big on them because I didn't really watch too much defensive interior this year. Then once the prospects started coming through, and then I watched the combine, and I was like, there's a lot of impressive big men here. What the heck's going on? So I was like, I just got to dive into it a little more. Because that's a position of need for the 49ers. Number one, they need a new interior defensive lineman badly.
Yeah.
So the fact there's so many,
hopefully
some drop to the third.
Yeah. I think you'll be able to find a good one in the third.
And I love that Hargrave signing so much.
Oh, it's so good, dude. It's one of my favorites this offseason.
It's such a great fit.
Yeah.
They needed an interior pass rusher, and they got him.
Oh yeah, no, he's elite. I love him, man. He's a great player.
Yep.
And I was looking at because this week I have like stable metrics from college to the pros for defensive interior players coming out for the website, and there's a lot to like about this class, but that's a whole other position, obviously. So, I know you do. I love talking rookie prospects, and one of my absolute favorite people to do that with, Joey. I can't thank you enough for being here, sharing your knowledge and thoughts on these guys.
3 years running now, right?
Listeners. Yes, sir.
Yes,
that's right. It's been fun. I really appreciate you taking the time to do it. Always enjoy talking to you.
Oh, definitely. I love this. This is my favorite one. And then we'll come again after draft.
Yes, sir. We absolutely will. It's going to be fun, man. It's going to be another good draft, another exciting time. Lots of new landing spots. It's the best time of the year.
You know if anybody's doing a draft show? The guys getting together?
We should be. That's the plan, is to do something. I don't know as far as what the size or anything like that is going to be, but there'll definitely be an IDP show, draft show this year. So
nice.
Eyes open for that, for sure. But other than that, please remind the people where they could find you, your work, and what you have coming up for Football Guys and anything else.
You can find all my written work and soon to be video content at footballguys.com. Kyle and I are gonna start doing some video content. Kyle Bellafuel, that is. We're gonna do some video content in season, weekly, and we're just gonna cover everything, all news, IDP, waivers. It's just gonna be quick hitting, letting you know everything that's going on in IDP each week. So we're gonna do that. I'm gonna keep doing my defensive line streaming articles on a weekly basis for football guys. Coming up right the weekend after the draft, we should have a top 40 IDP big board that me and Kyle are actually also collabing on. He's taking his linebackers. We both covered some defensive backs. I'm going to throw my defensive lineman. We're going to just put in a top 40 and build an actual big board. And it's going to have links going to player profiles, and it's going to be pretty impressive. But yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Joey the Tooth IDP. And if you'd like to purchase something I do otherwise, any of my books, I have a children's book out on Amazon and also a nice fantasy fiction book out on Amazon.
Yes, definitely go check out Joey's work. And yeah, man, aspiring writer, putting out work, published. It's a thing of beauty out there. You're doing all the work, all great work. And yeah, excited for those video clips as well, as long as you and Kyle promise to do like some kind of TikTok type dance as well while you're doing waiver wires.
We could probably do that.
Yeah, I think that'll generate more clicks and more
I've
likes.
Never actually
or whatever.
Been on TikTok. I'm going to
Neither have I, dude. I have no idea what the hell I'm talking about.
No want or need to do it.
Yeah, there really is no need for that. But
if it's anything like Twitter with videos, I can't do it.
No, it's hard. I hate being on video. I know we got the YouTube here, but that's why I have so many graphics, is to cover my face whenever possible. So, but yeah, man, thank you again. Definitely check out Joey's work at footballguys.com. As for me, you can find me in this podcast feed on a regular basis during the #OnSeason, as well. All of my written work, you can find that on pff.com. Where there's actually about to be a whole lot more coming from me as I have upgraded to a full-time member of the content team there. And a big part of that has to do with you incredible people consistently reading my work and apparently even requesting more of me to the powers that be. So I cannot tell you enough how much that means to me. I love you all, and please keep reading, because there's about to be a whole lot more IDP and beyond on the site. So
what you're saying is they got my 155 letters that I sent in.
They got them. They said, okay, we need enough of this Joey the Tooth guy. That's enough from him. We'll shut him up and we'll hire John full time.
Yes, congrats.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I'm excited.
That's awesome.
It'll be fun. It'll be fun to talk fantasy all year long, and not have to do the data collection and work long hours on the weekend. So very excited. PFF has been very good to me, and the people that check out my work have been very kind, and they're a big reason for it, obviously. So excited. Other than that, lastly, be sure to check out the IDP after show, which the debut episode drops tomorrow, with Evan Ronda and Jace Abbey breaking down the IDP free agents who landed in the best situations. And you can subscribe for free over at the idpshow.com. Definitely check that out, and those beautiful voices over there. I will be back in a couple of weeks to talk about the incoming rookie safety class with my guy, John Glosser. So until then, IDP out.